Test, test, test. Thanks for joining us today with Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation. I'm just at Liz Scott. I'm going to put the microphone on mute, and you might see the camera just to our logo, so bear with us. Mute.
It says mute still.
Oh, it's
Okay.
So welcome, guys. I came on a couple minutes ago to chat and let everybody that's talking see Liz. But right now,
There, that's better.
she's going to get going on talking about the foundation, and I'll hand it up to you.
Okay, hi everyone. It's just 2:00, so if you don't mind, I might actually wait one more minute. I see we just got 3 people on in the past 30 seconds, so I'd like to give folks another minute or so, and then we'll get started. And I'm excited to be speaking with you all. we're really thrilled that you guys are working with us again, and excited to see what you're going to do. I'm going to be telling you about Alex, who's right there, sitting at our kitchen table with her pitcher of lemonade. I took that photo, gosh, I think that was 2003, probably, maybe 2002. So she was like 6 or 7 years old, and had already sold a lot of lemonade, but there was a lot more to come. But I'm going to tell you the story, and then we'll talk about the foundation and what the money does and what the money you're raising, how that contributes to helping kids with cancer. So let's see, it's 2:01. We still got a few more people who just came on. So I'm going to give it probably another 30 seconds or so and see if we pick up any others.
Gabriel, who's in charge of everything, might call in.
Okay. Did you tell them about the questions? Do you want me to tell them about that?
Sure, it's #Ash.
Okay, so Jeff has set up a way for you to ask questions since I can't hear you or see you, obviously. And it's on Twitter, right, Jeff?
Yes.
Okay, so if you go on Twitter and you #ask Liz Scott, this is like the first time we've ever done this, so you're not going to see it. It's not trending or anything. If you #ask Liz Scott, he'll be able to pull them up and ask me questions. If you have additional questions and you're not on Twitter, you can always, what's another way what if they're not on Twitter? What's another way
they could email me? They could respond directly to Jeff.
Okay, you can respond directly to Jeff's email, which everybody received, and he'll check his email. He's sitting right here with his computer, and we can ask questions that way. So at any point while I'm talking, if something comes to your mind you want to ask about or follow up on, feel free to go ahead and either tweet #AskLizScott or send Jeff an email, and he will pass those along to me, and I'll answer them at the end. So we're going to get started. I think I'll probably talk for about 20 minutes or so. Since I have the opportunity, I will share with you, sort of the longer version of our story of Alex and her battle with cancer, and then also about what the foundation has done since Alex passed away. So Alex was diagnosed with cancer as an infant. She was 2 days shy of her first birthday when she was diagnosed, and she fought her cancer for 7.5 years. She never went into remission in that time. So the first few years of her treatment were all the known cures. Her type of cancer is called neuroblastoma. It's actually the most common infant cancer. And when she was first diagnosed, there were a lot of reasons to be hopeful. It was hard to get them to commit to a percentage, but she had at least a 50% chance of surviving at that point. So we went down the road of all the known cures, and after 3 years of chemotherapies, radiation therapy, multiple surgeries to kind of remove the tumors that kept growing, we came to the point where nothing had worked for her, and her cancer had actually spread to her bones at that point. So that was a really very hard time. It was really difficult, not just because of the fact that we knew what we were facing now, which was a uphill climb to try to cure her, and the chances of her getting cured were diminishing at that point, but also because she had been through so much. And it was heartbreaking to see that it hadn't worked after everything, she had gone through and had been put through to get to that cure. So she was going on 4 years old at this point when we were told there was really not a lot that could be done. We were living in the Hartford, Connecticut area at the time and had grown up. My husband and I both grew up there, and went to the University of Connecticut and stayed in the area. Our family and friends were up there. This was our home, but we had started traveling for second and third opinions to New York and Boston. And after 3 years, those 3 institutions all agreed with our Connecticut physician, which was, let's, stop treating her and give her some more time away. But, she was really still feeling pretty good. And we felt like she was a happy kid. She had a pretty good quality of life still, despite all of the treatment and the cancer progressing. And the thing that was causing her the most problem at this point was not the treatments. It was actually the cancer in her bones. So we were really just determined to see what else was out there, but also we wanted to see if there was something that could give her some relief, some treatment that could get the cancer out of her bones and make her feel better. So we ended up contacting the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and they at the time had a growing neuroblastoma program. And we talked to a doctor here who would become her doctor later, and he agreed with us. He said, I'm not going to tell you I can cure her, but I know that I have some treatments that have not been tried on her, some clinical trials that are pretty promising that I think could help her, and we could give her more time, and it could be quality time. So we came down here to Philadelphia to see him. And I'm giving you all the backstory because I think that time period, even though Alex was 3, not quite 4, was actually really critical in terms of how she developed this idea for her lemonade stand, and honestly, in how she was able to survive another 4 years after making that first trip. So we came down here to Philadelphia. We got her excited. We said it's a brand new treatment. We had to get her excited about going to another hospital because it's very frightening to go to a new institution as a child, especially when you don't know people there. You don't know what they're going to do. So we told her it was a brand new treatment. We came down here. She was on pain medicine around the clock from the pain from the cancer in her bones. She came in for this treatment, which was experimental at the time. It's now pretty standard for certain types of neuroblastoma. And she was in the hospital for 3 days. When she came out of the hospital after 3 days, and this was a treatment that basically required her to be in isolation because she, in fact, herself was radioactive. We could visit with her in periods of time. But it wasn't the same of, holding her and being able to really interact with her. So I thought she was going to be very unhappy. And she came out all smiles and she said, that treatment worked. I want to go shopping for a Christmas dress. It was right before Christmas. And that was such a big moment because we came down hopeful but sad because Alex was so uncomfortable. And we just weren't sure we were doing the right thing after being told to stop treating her. But we knew then that we were doing the right thing. And she was so happy to be feeling better. We ended up, we went back to Connecticut. She pursued more treatments. A doctor here in Philadelphia coordinated with her doctor back there in Connecticut, which was amazing. And for a year, we were going back and forth getting treatments. After a year, so in that time period, when we were living in Connecticut, right after that first experimental treatment is when Alex said she wanted to have a lemonade stand. And at the time, it was January, and she was actually in the hospital up there for like a month for another treatment that we were trying on her. And I didn't think much of it. I said, sure, when it gets warmer, all the things you can we had 2 other children at the time, very busy time. The ways to stall your child, I guess I would say, and that was one of them. When it gets warmer, when you get out of the hospital. Well, she talked about the stand for months. And finally, in June now, she's 4.5. We still haven't had the stand. And she said, we still haven't had my lemonade stand, and now it's getting hot out. And I said, what's the deal with your lemonade stand? What could you possibly want to buy so badly? And she said, I'm not keeping the money. I'm giving it to my doctor so they can help kids the way they helped me. And, that was important when I look back on it because it was really out of her gratitude for the fact that she came to Philadelphia. She participated in this clinical trial, this brand new treatment, and it helped her, and she knew it had helped her. So she was very grateful, and she wanted to make sure other kids had the same chance. How she connected money to that research, I will never know. And why she thought of a lemonade stand, she couldn't even answer that, except I think she was a very independent girl, and she wanted to make sure she could do it herself without too much interference from mom and dad. So we set up in the front yard. I told her she was going to raise $5 or $10. Honestly, I was so proud of her. I thought it was adorable, right? Like, she's going to cure cancer with a lemonade stand. $5 or $10 is a tiny drop, not even a drop in the bucket for cancer research in my mind. And I told her that. I said, Alex, it's going to be really hard to raise a lot of money with a lemonade stand. You're going to raise $5 or $10. And she said, I don't care. I'll do it anyways. Well, she raised $2,000 that first day. It was amazing. I had told my sister to come over. She had called the newspaper, and they ran a little tiny article about this little girl fighting cancer, having a lemonade stand to support the hospital. And people just showed up all day long. She said it was the best thing that ever happened to her. And that moment, I realized that this meant a lot to her. It wasn't just cute, that this was something that was really important to her. And I think she was overwhelmed herself by how many people wanted to support kids like her. And it was just the beginning. We ended up moving to Philadelphia. She lived, 3 of the best years of her life on experimental treatments. And I think that even made her more of an advocate for the need for more research. And she saw that there were kids like her who needed more sooner, that couldn't wait. She saw there were kids like her who were being cured because of research, and she knew she had been helped. So once we moved to Philadelphia, she set up every year. And every year, I would be the same sort of, let's not say negative, but I was tried to be realistic because I did not want her to be disappointed. I thought this was such a great thing, right? She raised $2,000. I didn't want her to do it again and feel like it was a failure. She moved here to Philly and things just took off. She would raise $12,000 in the front yard and then $15,000. And the news here also heard about the story from somebody who called them about it. And that story started getting picked up all across the country. And now she's getting letters in the mail from people all around Philadelphia, people all around the country, eventually people all over the world, not only sending money, but sending her lemonade stand money. So kids especially would hear what she was doing. And this was pre-social media. It was really just traditional print media, television media. And they would say, I'm going to have a stand. And they would send her their money always with a letter saying, I heard what you were doing. I had a lemonade stand. Here's my money. I hope it helps, or I hope you find a cure. And it was just so beautiful and so natural that it happened. It was pretty incredible to watch. And I think it really impressed Alex too, because by 2004 now, she started her first stand in 2000. By 2004, she had enjoyed 3 great years, but the treatments had stopped working. And in fact, her cancer had spread to her lungs and her liver. And we knew that 2004 would be her last stand. She had just turned 8 years old. It was a really tough time. She wanted to continue to be treated. She was a huge believer in participating in clinical trials, if not for yourself, as she knew that it had made her feel better, but for other people also, to learn and to build on all the science that's out there and to make it better for kids in the future. And at the end of her life, at a time when we weren't talking about lemonade stands, honestly, we had another child. We were extremely busy. We were extremely frantic and stressed and worried about Alex. And we knew what was coming for her and for our family. But Alex had other plans as usual. And she told a reporter she was going to raise $1 million that year. And when she was asked how she would do that, she said, if everybody has lemonade stands, I think we can do it. And who can argue with that, right? And that's exactly pretty much what happened. She had her last stand in June of 2004 in our neighborhood. On that same day, there were stands happening all over the country. A stand in every state became her motto. And that happened and then some, and there were stands in other countries as well. And by the middle of July, we were able to tell her she would reach her goal of $1 million, which when you wrap your head around that, $1 million from lemonade stands. And she passed away not even 2 weeks later. So, it was pretty clear looking back on it that she was holding on to make sure this would continue. And it certainly has continued beyond anything we could have ever anticipated or planned for. After she died, we thought the stand would go away because it was really Alex. She was the driving force. Her brothers would help her, but she was the face of it. And she was the one who would say, hey, it's time for my stand. And she would even decide which reporters she could talk to and which reporters, she wasn't really feeling well, or if it was like a big opportunity, she would just kind of get through it. She was very savvy that way, I guess you could say. But after she died, people kept sending money and saying they were going to continue to have lemonade stands. And we got to the point where within a month of her passing, 2 months, where we were saying we either need to start the foundation and just see what we can do to continue this, or we should post something. We had a website at the time and let people know, if they want to have a lemonade stand in Alex's memory, that's great. And just donate it, to your local children's hospital for cancer research or something. But we did feel like if we continued what Alex started, she had started to fill a gap that was out there, which is a nationally focused childhood cancer research organization, an organization that is there and willing to listen and fill gaps and is solely dedicated to pediatric cancer. And believe it or not, there really were not other models to look at for that. So we decided, that's kind of like the business side of it. And we didn't think of it that way, but we saw it more that there was this gap. Clearly there was a gap. And the fact that Alex was able to fill it rather quickly really told you that there was a desire to help kids with cancer. And childhood cancer is the #1 disease killer of children in our country. And the fact that it's underfunded is something that was shocking to us as parents and extremely frustrating. So the thing that really made us decide, though, because it wasn't like a given that we were going to do this, was a mom I heard from who sent me an email saying they were having a lemonade stand in memory of Alex, and her son was just starting his fight. And she said, I'm so grateful to Alex that she has given you guys an opportunity to change things for kids like my son. And that really struck me because, Alex was always doing it for other kids. In fact, we tried to give the money only for neuroblastoma research, which was her cancer, as I said. And she told me that was selfish and that all kids want their tumors to go away. That's what she called her cancer. And when I got that email from that mom, I thought, Alex would say that is so selfish. I was thinking, but it's too hard. We don't know how to do this. All the excuses. I have 3 other kids who need me, now more than ever. And I could just hear Alex saying, that is so selfish. Something being hard is not a reason not to do something, right? If it's the right thing to do. So we decided we would make a go of it and that we would start Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which literally grew from Alex's Lemonade Stand. And our goal was really just to continue to see what we could do to help other kids with cancer. And that was early 2005. Since then, now fast forward 11 years plus, we have raised over $120 million, actually over $125 million to the day. And that is just beyond anything we could have imagined. I think it shows, like I said, the need that's out there. And if you give people an opportunity and a way to fill that need to help kids with cancer, people are willing to do it, which is very hopeful because the progress we've made with that money, Alex was she was a visionary, honestly, but I don't even know if she could have anticipated, the way things have come about, because the way they're studying cancer right now is so smart and so targeted. And the therapies they're looking at are things like immunotherapy and vaccines and teaching your body or tricking your body into fighting the cancer. They're not inventing new chemotherapies and new radiation therapies at this point. They're trying to invent things that are better. They're trying to invent things that are less toxic. 2/3 of childhood cancer survivors have life-altering side effects, largely from the treatment. The thing that we had to give to cure them causes a lot of long-term side effects that affect their lives forever. So we need to get better treatments for the survivors. But in terms of those, 20% of kids in this country who don't get cured, and by the way, that's actually the highest cure rate in the world is in the United States. So there's a lot of work to be done in a lot of other places in the world. But in this country, 1 out of 5 kids will not survive. That is a pretty, on the one hand, a hopeful statistic because that means 4 out of 5 do. So we've come a long way. But 1 out of 5 not surviving is not a good statistic. And when it's your child who's diagnosed, it's a very scary statistic. So we're setting to change that, and we've had a lot of success. So I'll give you a couple of examples. So I mentioned the way they're studying cancer now. So I feel like Alex created this at exactly the right time. If it had been done 10 years before, sure, it would have been amazing. But the science now and the technology and what they know about the human genome and what they're able to do in terms of screening is making it so much better to study cancer. And it's making it so much better to come up with ways to target the individual, not necessarily the whole category. And I'll give you a couple examples, like I said. So one of the studies that we were a part of found a cause actually for Alex's type of cancer, for some of them, for about half of the aggressive ones. And this was a mutation. And they discovered, once they made that discovery, it's called the ALK mutation, the researcher actually figured out that there was already a drug on the market that targeted this same mutation in lung cancer, adult lung cancer patients. So she went to the drug company and said, I want to get this into trial for children with this. This could potentially save their lives. And she was told it would be 5 years before they were ready for that in children. And, we ended up stepping in and giving her money to do all the preliminary studies that would have to be done to get it to clinical trial in children. 18 months. She said they told her that was the fastest they've ever seen that happen. In 18 months, she was able to get this treatment into a phase 1 clinical trial. The first 9 kids they gave it to, 7 of them went into complete remission. 2 of them we've heard from. And I should clarify that most of the children going into clinical trials are kids like Alex who are to the point where there really is not a known cure for them. Because when there is a known cure, obviously that's the first thing they give the kids. So these are kids who are relapsed, or sometimes like Alex, they call it refractory. They never even went into remission. So these are kids who are really running out of options. And to think 7 out of 9 of them went into remission is literally like a miracle. We've heard from 2 of the families. They are still both now, I think one is 3 years out and one is 4 years out, maybe even more, still in remission, still doing well. Healthy, amazing. One boy had lymphoma and one had neuroblastoma, which was Alex's. And, they were both at the point where we were with Alex when Alex started her stand, which was, we don't know a way to cure your child. And to think that, they were given that chance to get into a clinical trial and that clinical trial saved their child's life is pretty amazing to start with. And then to think that Alex's Lemonade Stand and the money people like you are raising has been a part of that. That idea of $1 at a time, a cup at a time, actually curing children is pretty powerful. Now, another way they're studying cancer is to take a step back, right? So we've talked about vaccines and there's immunotherapies going on, teaching your body to fight it. Well, a while ago, we funded a guy who was using his idea. It was just an idea. It was called an innovation award. This was a good idea. He put together a great proposal to our scientific advisory board because we have scientists who determine how we spend the money, and people apply and they score them. And if they score excellent, we fund them. This guy wanted to use the polio virus. And his thought was the polio vaccine is the most effective vaccine ever. It's basically eradicated polio. And what if your body thought cancer was polio? Would it kill it? So we gave him money to kind of test this, make it safe, first of all, because obviously you don't want to give a child polio in exchange for getting rid of their cancer. And he was able to use that seed money for 2 years to successfully then take it all the way from that point to clinical trial. And this story has actually been covered in the news. You may have heard of it. It's been on 60 Minutes twice. The second time it was on 60 Minutes, it was on there because it's actually such a promising new therapy that the FDA has fast-tracked it and given it breakthrough status, which means they are quickly going to allow it to be done in institutions across the country, select institutions. I think there's maybe 20 or so now, I'm not sure. But anyways, what he did was this young woman, 16 years old, relapsed brain tumor, inoperable. And they basically told her when she asked that if she would be able to graduate high school, they said probably not, that she only had a couple of months to live. And they offered to try this first. Imagine that conversation with the parents. We have something we want to try in your child. We haven't tried it in a child before. And we're going to inject polio into the tumor and hope the body attacks it. Well, this girl got this. She got extremely sick. And then she started to get better. When they did a scan, they saw her tumor had, in fact, pretty much gone away. It's like the size of a pea now, and it's been that way for, I think, 4 years. She's graduated college. She's a nurse, and she's studying to become a pediatric oncology nurse. So those are the kinds of things that the money you're raising is supporting. We do have some family services also, and I mention that because I like to say it's a small but mighty part of what we do, meaning in our budget, say if we'll give out $19 million in research grants, we might spend $500,000 on our family support programs. But that $500,000 is having such an impact for families today. Things like our Travel for Care program, which is by far the biggest part of our family services. We will help a family just like us who needs to travel. There's 22 centers that do clinical trials. Sometimes they have to travel because their child has relapsed and they don't live near a center where they can enroll in a clinical trial. Sometimes their main hospital just for their everyday treatment is 5 or 6 hour drive from them. And imagine you're making that weekly, the expenses that go with that. So we provide upfront, which is very unique about the program. We will pay for gas cards. Sometimes we'll pay for meals if the family really is having a tough time. We will pay for airfare, Ronald McDonald House or a hotel. We work with a bunch of other organizations like the Ronald McDonald House and Angel Flights and complimentary services. And we have somebody on staff who will book that for them so that they don't even have to think about it, much like a travel agent would. And the stories we hear from that are pretty incredible. And, I think it really makes you realize that the cancer is just part of the problem for the families, because you have financial problems, there's emotional struggles, there's psychological impact. So we also fund psychosocial grants that look at the impact it's having on the family. The siblings are greatly affected. In fact, research shows that the siblings psychologically in many ways are affected more so than the actual child with cancer. So we have a Super Sibs program where we send them something every 2 months, that coping information about what they might be going through, but also just something that says, hey, we're thinking of you, and then something fun for them to do. So these are a lot of kind of packaged together, all the things we do. We're so grateful to you for your support. It has a huge impact. We see it every day. I hope I've been able to share with you my excitement for what the money is doing, and also my enthusiasm for the fact that you guys are helping us out with that. So do we have any questions, Jeff?
Yeah, we do.
Oh, good. Okay.
Hopefully everybody can hear and Liz can reiterate the question.
Yes,
so,
of course.
From DFit17, she writes, "Hi Liz, what do you expect in terms of growth for the foundation in the next 5 to 10 years?" And she ends her tweet with, "Can't wait to raise money," and Alex is on it.
All right. So what do we expect? Thank you. DFit17. We're excited for you to participate too. So we are really, we're growing, but we plan to grow even faster. And it's important. We're not just growing to grow, because it's a lot less work to not grow. So we want to make sure that we're growing for the right reasons. And obviously that's because, as I just said, we're at such a critical time in funding where we have the potential to make so many discoveries and find new cures, and it's just a matter of resources. So we are right now, in 2015, we were a $20 million organization. We raised $20 million last year. We're hoping to raise like 22 this year. We are saying, and we're hoping that by 2020, we will be closer to a $40 to $50 million a year organization. So we're ramping up. We hope to really engage more people like you guys. So if you like participating with Alex's Lemonade Stand, we're always looking for people to just share it with other people. Tell them you had a good experience. Tell them about the impact it's having. And literally one cup at a time, we want to grow and expand and just keep doing what we're doing.
We have another question from Stewie Styles.
Okay, Stewie Styles.
Is there a type of cancer that needs more funding than others?
That's a really good question. Is there a type of cancer that needs more funding than others? So childhood cancer is like a very general term. There's actually anywhere from 22 to 25 different types of childhood cancers. Many of them are exclusively in children, meaning it would be very unusual for an adult to get. It happens, but like neuroblastoma, for example. Leukemia adults get, but ALL is much more typical, and it's the most common childhood cancer. So the good thing about our grant program, so yes, there are some that need it more than others. There are some where the cure rates are so low that something needs to be done. Like, for example, for some brain tumors, many brain tumors, they range from a not very good survival rate to basically a 0 survival rate. And the others, flip side of that with brain tumors is a lot of the cures and the things that are more likely to cure a child will also have serious life-altering side effects. For example, certain brain tumors where the children have to get a lot of radiation to cure them will result in so much loss of IQ that the children may never read. They may never be able to have like a fully functioning job. Certainly may not be able to go to college, or would probably always need special services. So the brain tumors is an area we see a lot of grant applications for. The good thing about the way our grant application system is set up is we get hundreds of grant applications, and our scientists know that part of our mission is to find new cures. So the nature of the people who apply to us is that they are generally researching hard to treat childhood cancers. So that is a lot of brain tumors. Leukemia is still, it's curable, highly curable, certain kinds. Other kinds of leukemia are not that curable. In any kind of relapse childhood cancer, instantly, just like with adult cancers, the survival rate goes down. So the needs are great. One that we have our eye on putting a lot of money behind is called DIPG. I'm going to mess it up if I say it, diffuse intrapontine glioma or something like that. But it's a brainstem tumor. Often can't be biopsied because of where it is, certainly can't be removed because of the risks of it, and essentially has no treatment options. They try to slow it down. It's incurable. And it's something that we've committed to investigating and actually specifically putting out there that we want to offer a large amount of money for researchers internationally, because that's what it's going to take to collaborate to cure this disease. But they're all bad. And our grants really focus on any of the high risk, like I said, on any of the really tough to treat childhood cancers. And it's a range. We've funded well more than 20. We've probably funded just about every childhood cancer there is at this point.
Can you touch on, next question is from Gabrielle Nader. Can you touch on the other partnerships that we have with other corporate groups, such as Volvo?
Yeah. So the question is about our corporate partnerships. So, it's kind of a restrictive term because you guys are in a partnership with us too, and you are a corporation. So technically you're a corporate partnership. But some of our larger partners in terms of dollars raised and what they do, first I should say, last year, nearly half our money came from companies like yourselves and up to our larger partners raising money. So what you guys do is really integral to what we do. And you're not only raising money, but you raise awareness because you're getting the word out there and you're talking to people about Alex's Lemonade Stand and the need for research dollars. But Volvo Cars is always top of my mind because they were sponsoring when Alex was in the front yard. And I talked a lot about her goal of $1 million. It was actually Volvo who took her over the goal before she died. She was about $750,000 and she was not doing well. And they called, somebody called on behalf of the then president and asked how she was doing. And I said, she's really not doing well. And they said, well, how is she going on her goal? And I said, oh, she's going to reach it, but I don't know that she's going to be here to see it. And they said, well, you tell her she reached her goal. And they took her over the $1 million. So we were able to tell her that. And she died about 10 days later. So it was pretty amazing gift from them. And more incredibly, they've stuck with us all these years through many presidents and changes over there. And they're one of our largest supporters. They do a lot of things. And this just kind of shows you how you can engage in so many different ways. So they do lemonade stands like in their corporate offices. They give us $10 from every car that's sold. They sponsor a lot of our events. We have a lemon run. We have food events in different cities. They essentially participate in any way they can. We have other companies that have lemonade stands. They ask their customers to donate. It really ranges, but Volvo and Northwestern Mutual are our two biggest right now. Northwestern Mutual has offices all over like you guys. And what's really cool about them is they encourage the offices to do anything they want year round to support Alex's. And it's pretty, in fact, my husband today is in Chicago at a golf outing that one of their offices is doing for us. They range from maybe they had a golf outing before and now they make it a charity golf outing for Alex's. They do bowling events, they do happy hours. I mean, you name it. It's extremely creative. And one of the things we love about Alex's Lemonade Stand is I think we really encourage people to have fun with what you're doing in your fundraising, especially in an office setting. You kind of get to work outside of your normal scope of project, I guess you could say, and maybe work with people you don't usually work with and meet people you don't usually meet. So hopefully you guys will get some opportunities to do that as well.
So we have another question from Katie Gurici. Sorry if I mispronounced the name. You mentioned you had other children. How are they involved in the foundation?
Okay, question about my other children. So Alex, if she was alive, she would be 20 years old. So I'm thinking she might be the same age as some of you, actually. She would be going into her junior year of college. So she had an older brother who is 21 now, and he just graduated from college, and he just moved to Chicago a week ago and started a new job. So he's doing well. And then my next son is 17. He just graduated high school, and he's heading up to the University of Massachusetts, for those of you in the great state of Massachusetts. And my youngest son is 13, and he's going into 8th grade. So how are they involved? They, many ways. So June is our big month here. And we do, I would say that the number one thing, if you were to ask them, is they don't miss Alex's original stand. So we still have Alex's stand in our neighborhood, and they still go help set up in the morning, and they consider it their event in terms of their friends and the community and their schoolmates coming to it year after year. We do a butterfly release there, and they read something. But then throughout the year, they depending on their age, they go in and out of participation, but they sometimes come to the office, although we've moved, so it's a little bit more challenging for them to pop in. They'll come on the weekends a lot of times and help us move stuff around that has to be moved if we have an event or something. My youngest son's going to be coming in next week probably to do a project for me on an Excel sheet, like something a 13-year-old can do, a basic Excel spreadsheet. They really like talking about it, and I think they see themselves as spokespeople for it. And I know my son's high school, everybody knows that he is Alex's Lemonade Stand. And he participated in a competition at school, and he picked Alex's as his charity. So it's always top of mind for them. But it's funny because neither of them put it on their college applications. And when I said, how come you didn't put Alex's Lemonade Stand? They said, that's not an activity for me. That's like part of my life. That's part of who I am. And I thought that was a really interesting way to look at it. They don't see it as like something they do. It's just like part of who they are.
So we have two more great questions. Jared Sealer, what do you think Alex would say today after seeing all of the progress that has been made with Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation?
I think she would be impressed. I know, she really loved children. So especially when we meet, like Edie, this little girl I was telling you who was cured from this neuroblastoma trial, every time I see her, I think, man, Alex would just love her and love knowing that the Lemonade Stand was a part of changing her life. And in fact, a lot of those kids have their own lemonade stands. So I think Alex would get a kick out of that. The 8-year-old Alex, which is how I remember her, would also really be saying but come on, it's not enough. We've got more to do. As long as there's needs, she would be pushing us because that's how her mind worked. What would 20-year-old Alex say? It's so hard to imagine, but I think she'd be really grateful and smart about what's next for us, and agree that we need to keep going and keep growing and keep changing lives.
And the last question here is Elisa Brooks. Hi, Liz. Can you share the best success story from a lemonade stand that donated to the foundation?
Oh, the best. Oh, that's like picking a favorite child. The best success story. I mean, for me, oh gosh, there's so many, because you have the monster lemonade stands, right? Like you guys raised a ton of money last year. What was it, Jeff? $60-some thousand? Like that's a huge lemonade stand effort for us. So you guys could probably answer that question yourselves. Honestly, that's one of our biggest in terms of holding stands and like kind of coming together and raising that much money. So you have those big ones where there's multiple locations and people are excited about it. But then to compare that to, say, the kid on the corner who just wakes up one day and hears Alex's story and says, Mom, I want to do this, and sits out there all day long and like hard-earned, say, $25, right, to send their money in, and then takes the time to like write a letter and draw a picture and say, thank you to us for allowing them to do this. That's also a success. So I know that's kind of maybe a lame answer, but for us, it's just about every donation counts. If you're looking for ideas on how to make it a success, honestly, you guys did a phenomenal job last year, letting people know you're doing it, using your online pages as like an evite. So you send it to people and tell them this is happening. Don't just see it as they could donate, but they might want to actually come and stop by. But then the bonus is they can also donate if they can't make it. Getting competitive, I think, always helps between offices or even at your own stand. Some people get competitive about who's going to bring in more donations. Somebody doing something goofy as an incentive always is fun for us to hear, like the big boss put on a lemon suit and stood in the cafeteria for, 3 hours during lunch taking photos with people. We've had all kinds of fun things that people do in their locations, having contests. We had one that did they had a stand, but then that day was like a lemon field day, and they did a lot of challenges, like all lemon themed, like a lemon run on a spoon between departments. They did a sabotage jar where you could donate pennies to add to, and I think it was dollars to take away from the total, and the departments got really competitive with each other. There's so many fantastic things we've seen.
Well, we have, this is our first Google Hangout on live YouTube. We have Gabby from the main office that I'm going to call, and she's going to just talk through the mic.
Okay.
I was trying to set her up, but we're going to give her a call real quick. Thank you for all the great questions.
Yeah, I love it. You guys actually had questions. I told Jeff people don't usually have questions. So I haven't done a Google Hangout, so this was new for me. It's kind of weird. I feel like I'm talking to myself because I see my face there. But it's been really fun. I'm really grateful that you guys had questions and hung in there. Okay, we have her on the phone. We're going to put her up to the mic.
Go ahead, Gabby.
Jeff, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you. Go ahead, Gabby. Gabby, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I feel like I'm on like a radio broadcast.
Well, thank you so much, Liz, and thanks to Liz and Jeff for coordinating this entire effort. And
it's a little behind, so don't worry, but just talk into your phone here.
Okay, I thought it was disconnected. So thanks to Liz and Jeff for coordinating this. Liz, thanks for taking the time to speak with the group. Alex is certainly an inspirational child for all of us to take a little part of into our lemonade stand. So for everybody on the phone, thank you in advance for all your efforts. I hope that we can beat last year's summer interns and raise more than the almost $65,000 that they raised. I appreciate your participation and asking questions, and thanks for taking the time to be on the call today. And if anyone needs anything, feel free to reach out to me at any time, and I can certainly coordinate stuff with Jeff if people need any advice or anything like that. Please feel free to reach out. But other than that, great job so far. I've already seen some great ideas coming to me for different stand locations and different events in different offices around the country. So I think everybody is really taking the bull by the horns here, and hopefully we have a great summer.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you. And thanks again, everybody. If you have other questions that you think of afterwards, you can always email Jeff and he'll get you an answer. So thanks again.
And this will be, so you can actually see me, this will be on YouTube. We will send out a link so you guys can hear Liz, and if you want to share this and send this story out to anybody else. So we thank you for your time and participation. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.